Yeah.
Okay, good evening. Hello. Shalom. Shalom. God bless you, everyone. Welcome to Dads of the Bible. This was a super exciting episode right now because we've got tonight both a live audience with my friend Kawai, but also we have Terah. Terah. It's like hurrah. Okay. But you wonder, who is Terah, right? I never heard the name of Terah in the Bible. Terah was the father of Abraham. Yeah, everybody's heard of Abraham. Now, what happened with Terah was, we don't know much, but we know that Terah was told by God to move away from one place and to another place. So it was Terah was told to move to the land of Canaan, which ended up being the land of Israel later. But we'll see what happened to him on the journey. And Terah is a very important figure. Actually, the Jews talk about him quite often. But he's never mentioned in the Christians much. But guess what? He took care of not only his son Abraham, who ended up being one of the most important figures and leaders in the Bible, so we know the leadership came from somewhere, but also he took care of Lot. So he raised Lot and Abraham together because Lot's father died in one of the wars, the regional wars there. So here we got Terah. And the idea is to journey and to pull up stakes and to set out. The Hebrew word that we're discussing tonight is nasa. And so Terah's journey is, so after, we'll look at the Bible in, let's go ahead and go to Genesis 11:31 in my favorite Bible gateway. So it's 11:31 was where it happened. So here you have last week we talked about Shem, Ham, and Japheth covering their dad's sin and protecting his dignity. And what a conversation, right, Kawai?
Yeah.
That was a deep one, man.
That was one.
I've been thinking about it ever since, truthfully.
Yeah, me too.
It's really meaningful, that one. But this one's also really important. I'll tell you why, because I'm a father who has traveled, and I'm getting ready to make also a big significant move with my family, and moving countries. And this is what my wife is also somewhat, tense about, obviously, uprooting ourselves to another country, maybe next year. This is, and I know Kawai on the call, you are, potentially going to be uprooted, moving on the journey, called by God to move, and you don't know where. It's uncertain. This was the case with Terah. Now, Terah was not the son of Shem, Ham, or Japheth. So we're going to skip down a little ways, because you had Shem, Ham, and Japheth were the sons of Noah, and they were scattered all over the earth. Then what happened was the Babel, right? So the Babel story, where the people got together and they tried to build this tower and have one single language. They had one single language at that time, obviously. And then God destroyed Babel, and that the idea of Babel is blah, 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 blah. My baby's doing that. And they were scattered all over the earth. And then it gives the account of Shem, Ham, and Japheth's family line, and the account of Shem, which ends up being the descendant of David and Jesus. So Shem is the ancestor of Jesus down in that line. And again, remember, Ham, his son Canaan was cursed, and said it would be the slave of Shem. So Shem was 100-year old, being the father of Arphaxad, and then he lived 500 years. Again, these are not literal years. These are years somehow calculated in the old Hebrew way, and we don't know how long it is. So we know it's a pretty long time now. So and then you had these different people, Shelah, Aber, and it doesn't say anything about these people, but they were all in the same place, basically. So they were all in this area of the Middle East where the flood had rescinded, and the descendants of Noah were all in this place. So this was all in the Middle East, back Iraq, Iran, Syria, Israel, Palestine, these areas, Egypt. And so they were building all this in this area. And then it said Nahor became the father of Terah, quite young, at 29, and Nahor lived only 120 years. So Nahor, so you see that the number of years is already getting smaller and smaller as the time goes on. And Terah became the father of Abram, which God then renamed Abraham, Nahor, and Haran. Okay, and so this is the account of Terah's family line. Can you go ahead and read from 27 to 32?
Yeah. Abram's family. This is the account of Terah's family line. Terah became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran became the father of Lot, while his father Terah was still alive. Haran died in Ur of the Chaldeans, in the land of his birth. Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarah, and the name of Nahor's wife was Milcah. She was the daughter of Haran, the father of both Milcah and Iscah. Now Sarai was childless because she was not able to conceive. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, the wife of his son Abram, and together they set out from Ur of the Chaldeans to go to Canaan. But when they came to Haran, they settled there. Terah lived 205 years, and he died in Haran.
Okay, so that's what we know about that. Oh, interesting. There is a little bit of a different story there in the interesting. So, okay, so this is what he said, that they were supposed to go here and there. But notice that the dad skill here is knowing when to go and having the courage to leave. And he not only took his sons and his daughters, but he took the childless wife, and he took his grandson, and they all got up and left. We don't know why, but we're going to make some assumptions tonight because that's what I like to do, and it's a lot of fun. So Terah's journey after Babel, he moves his family. He was a disrupted world. Okay. So they, in the city of Ur, they were serving other gods, right? So all these different people then had different gods and things like that. And he left Ur. All right, because Ur is the center of idolatry. So what he did by leaving this place of idolatry was he opened the space for his son and his grandson to listen to the Lord and have a relationship with our God. Because remember, at that time, it was not monotheism. At the time of Terah and Abraham and the biblical fathers, it was not monotheism as we know it today, meaning a belief in one single God. It was, I think they call it heterotheism or hemitheism, I think. And it means like one of several gods. So Yahweh, the supposed name of the unnameable true God, was seen as one of several gods. And so you had different people serving different gods. Now, he didn't make it to Canaan. He was on his way to Canaan, right? But he didn't make it there. And he made it to Haran and settled in Haran. Now, it doesn't say why, but getting him out of the place where they served and believed in other gods was enough, because then Abraham did what? He destroyed the idols and he followed the true one God. So Terah did a big important thing. He took a big risk. Took his son, he took his grandson, he took their families, didn't know where he was if they were gonna make it, didn't probably have a lot of provisions and resources. Babel was destroyed, the languages were split up. It was time to go, and he took them and he took out, and he maybe saved his family's life, but mainly he opened that space for God. So Terah is the patron saint of dads who relocate their families. If you've ever moved your family for a better opportunity, this chapter is for you. If you're considering a move right now, like I am, this episode is yours. If you're an immigrant dad who sacrificed everything to give your kids access to a better future, this episode is definitely for you. And that happened with maybe even, I don't know about your dad, but this definitely happened to a lot of people that are in the church. I'll tell you what, in our church, we have 2 African fellowships, and many of those dads sacrifice that. We have Filipino fellowship, we have French-speaking fellowship, and in some of these cases, the dads was trying to give they just want to bring their kids here to have a better family. Rodriguez, our worship team leader, that happened to him. As a matter of fact, that's why his dad came to Austria, and he was raised up here. And he was raised up in the church, and to escape the life there that was anti-Christian. Pretty powerful. And so we looked at the Babel. It was traumatic. You know, imagine that the communities were fractured, the languages were fractured, and it's time to relocate. Right? It's not reactive; it's intentional move, though. This is what we know about Terah. First, he lived in Ur. This was not a backwater village. Ur was the most advanced city, one of the most advanced cities in the ancient world. Archaeological excavations show sophisticated architecture, advanced mathematics, complex legal systems. Think of it like Shanghai or Hong Kong or London. Okay? One of the major cities. His family served other gods. And Joshua 24:2 says that Terah's family was pagan. They worshipped the idols of Mesopotamia. Ur was full of temples to false gods. Okay, so we can assume that he was wanting to escape that. Third, something moved him to leave. Genesis 11:31, which we just read, says Terah took Abram, his son, and Lot and Sarai, and they went forth together from Ur of the Chaldeans to go into the land of Canaan. We don't know why, but we know from Acts 7, verses 2-4, that God appeared to Abraham while they were still in Mesopotamia before they reached Haran. That's an act in the New Testament. God was already at work in his family before they reached Haran. Fourth, Terah got them out of Ur, but stopped in Haran. He made it 600 miles northwest, but not all the way to Canaan. Some people criticize this as failure. I just said, see it differently. I see it that he's got his family away from idolatry. He moved them away from the culture that would have consumed them spiritually. He created a space for his son to hear God clearly. And that's what I want to do with my daughter. Just today, the kindergartner, when I was picking her up, said, she's the second youngest person in the whole entire group of, a lot of kids. And she leads. She leads activities. She cleans. She knows all their names of the other kids. At 19 months, she serves. She leads dances. She leads activities. And my wife said, where can we go? Because it's not going to happen here where we're at. That she gets leadership opportunities. So we have to then make a decision like Terah did. Maybe Terah saw the leadership in Abraham and said he's not going to have an opportunity here in Mesopotamia, in Babel. Maybe it wasn't about Terah. Maybe he left because he saw the leadership in his son, and he said, my son is not going to be a leader in this place of idol worship. There's something different for him, and I'm going to sacrifice my life and success for him, and I'm willing to do the same. Fourth, Terah got them out of Ur, but stopped in Haran. He made it 600 miles northwest, but he didn't make it. Fifth, his son finished the journey. Genesis 12 begins with God calling Abraham to leave Haran and continue to Canaan. Abraham completes what his father started. That worked out. So faithful fathers start their journeys that their children complete. You don't have to finish everything you begin. Sometimes getting your family pointed in the right direction is enough. I might not make it to the promised land with my daughter, but I'm surely not just going to stay here and sit around and let this place consume me and my family and limit her potential and our potential. So that's the decision that people make. But sometimes it's even more serious. Sometimes it's because of potential harm to the family, you know? So let me bring up the slide here. So the word that's in the Bible is nasa. I hope I said that right. But hey, guess here's the other good news. I got a Hebrew scholar to come help me with all this Hebrew words. Isn't that great? So we're going to be picking it up on the Hebrew. He's going to maybe show up, but he's definitely going to give input. 146 times in the Old Testament. This is not travel. This is not a business trip. It means relocating your entire life, your wife, your children, your belongings, your livestock, your assets. You pull up your tent stakes and you move to somewhere better. NASA. Like NASA, like the spaceship, huh? You move to somewhere else. That's probably where it comes from.
Interesting.
Fathers who NASA today, Chen, Shanghai to Vancouver. He left a prestigious Czech job for a lower salary and longer hours, but 5 years later, his daughter was accepted to Canadian University, which gives her big opportunities. She said, I hated you for moving us. But 5 years later, she said, now I understand what you gave up for me, Dad. Isn't it? James in Atlanta from Lagos. He left a senior engineer position, or maybe he lost his job, right? Yeah. Maybe there was war or something. Entry-level technician role. So he had to start over as a beginner, as a low-paid guy. His son said, "Why did you come here? You're a big top boss over there in Lagos, in Nigeria." And he said, "I brought you here for access, not for stuff, not for material ways. Access." He says, "Man, you don't understand at 25 what you can't see at 15." The pattern of NASA. I just keep thinking that NASA must mean the space company. It must come from the Hebrew word. It means the same thing, right?
Yeah,
Pick up and leave and go to a different place, a different planet.
it's very interesting.
We're going to have to look that up.
Yeah.
So the first generation sacrifices, the second generation accesses, and the third generation seals God's faithfulness. This is what fathers do. They prepare, preparation for their kids, and this was pretty awesome. Terah, huh? You won't forget Terah after this session, because he's the one who sacrificed and prepared and created access for his son Abraham to do what Abraham did, which was change the world and create all of innumerable descendants. All right, so if you've ever relocated, ask yourself or ask someone who's around you, what was the hardest part? Was it really that hard, right? What about you? And question number 2. I wanted to make sure I had this question in there for you in case you showed up.
Yeah.
What's holding you back from moving to a different place, or would you prefer to stay here?
I mean, there's a lot of fear, of course, of having to restart everything. There's certain ways of living I've gotten accustomed to, social groups. Yeah, I would say probably mostly the circle that I've built here since now 9 years or so in Vienna. And there's a pretty big resistance inside of me to have to restart all of them, especially when people are settling down. My friends are getting married, and I think there's always this thought where there's this haunting thought, what if I don't manage to restart any of that? And probably loneliness might be a big fear. Culture,
Yeah,
sure, but loneliness, I think, might be the biggest one.
well, you got friends here, relationships built time, and you got your family here. But the career would be the main reason you would get up and go, right?
It would be the only reason for me to leave. Yeah, I would say.
Do you think God might have something for you here if if you pray hard enough, and if you seek out an answer and you visualize that career that you want, that you think or that you believe and that you hope for is here? And if it's not, are you willing to just tell God to give you the answer to where to go and what to do?
I think I'm actively seeking, looking around different countries. I've been doing that already for a couple months now. That's why I went to Germany a couple months ago, to see if maybe that's a better location, but also thinking about London, thinking about France, thinking about possibly going back to Asia as well. Honestly, there's no real clear path right now, but I think I'm applying around and then seeing which doors God opens and which door God closes for me. But yeah.
Yeah, so basically for professional reasons, for survival, for potential lifestyle reasons, and you're young enough and you don't have a family, so you can go.
I can, yeah.
Once you have a wife and family, it starts to be really difficult because, especially like in me, my wife has got quite settled here, and we've got a kid, and it's a big thing to move with the family. So you're in a good position to move, and you shouldn't worry about it. You shouldn't think twice, because you can always come back here if it doesn't work out, and your family's here. Your friends aren't going to go, most of them. But if you go somewhere else, maybe you'll meet that right woman. Maybe she's right there waiting for you. God has somebody over there back in Asia, or has somebody in France. You got to go with it. And here's the thing: you think Terah was just sitting there praying to God and all that? They were serving idols back then. They didn't know Yahweh and all this. It was Abraham really that Yahweh came in the bush. Remember? And so, or Moses and all that. So. You had he wasn't really clear, but what was he moving on? Why did he move? Why did they take off in this picture here? Well, they took off because of circumstances. Because Babel has been falling apart. People serving different gods. They don't know what to do. Let's go start on a journey. Go somewhere else. Find a new way, new path. Haran had died. The father of Lot, he had his grandson, he had his son. He said, let's go find something else, because maybe there's going to be greener pastures somewhere else. But he wasn't afraid to go, and he made the move. Same thing with Joseph and Mary, and then they went to escape, right? They escaped. That's why they left. It wasn't because, God just said, go to Egypt, or something. It was like, oh man, they're going to kill a kid, man. Let's get out of here before they kill the kid. And so there was a real practical reason or survival that they were leaving there, and when Abraham, which we will skip over, but him and Lot, they were together, and then from Haran, and then they went, and Abraham decided to go towards Canaan, which was obviously the more greener place, but not very inhabited. And then Lot decided to go to the city, which was Sodom and Gomorrah. And we know what happened in that story. They're making decisions, and they weren't just asking God at that time. They were just saying, hey, I want to go here because there's greener pastures here. And Lot's like, hey man, there's a city here, so I could find work and do trade there with existing people. And hey, I like to party. And Abraham's like, no, I'll go the country direction. So these are practical decisions, and we're looking at that kind of decision right now and see where we go. But we want to hear God. We want to hear God's voice and say, where's next? What's next for us? And we need a sign. One of the signs that Terah had a sign. The sign was that Babel fell apart. So, boom, that's a sign. That's our sign. That's our signal. Let's go. All right. So right now we're just, we're at this transition period, and it's tense right now because we don't know to stay or to go. And we're just waiting on that sign for that. And it will come. And God will provide it. And we will know when it comes what to do and where to go. And we'll make that right decision if we're in the spirit. And it's the same thing with you, man. When the right job comes, when the right opportunity comes, when the right place comes, you'll know it in your heart. You'll have the validation through a sign, through some kind of work that God does to show you this is where you're supposed to go. Now, Terah was supposed to go to Canaan, didn't make it. Made it to halfway, and stayed and said, this is enough, and we're going to stay here, and my son's going to follow and finish off the journey, but this is enough. We don't know why, but we assume they had their reasons, and it did work out as God protected Abraham and Lot, and then continued on that. So it's a very dynamic situation with moving. And it happens to all of us, man. So we're all in that boat. But you know what they say? They say usually you don't regret it when you move countries or move stuff. You're kind of happy that you took the adventure, took the risk. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes it does. But basically, Terah teaches us to have the courage to relocate when staying means Where's that message? When staying means death. When staying means death of your soul, death of your spirit, death, then it's time to move. You need to be willing to NASA your butt to space. And with that, NASA your butt to another planet. NASA out the road, right?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead and close this off with prayer. Father, give us the wisdom to know when to stay and when to go. Give us the courage to relocate when staying means our families won't flourish. Help us trust you with outcomes we can't control. Lord, for fathers who have already relocated, bless their sacrifice. For those like my brother Kawai and myself considering moves, give them and give us clarity, Lord. We pray for clarity. For those who are raising children in new places, help them to create homes wherever they are. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you very much for attending Dads of the Bible this week. Next week, we're going to have a very, very interesting episode where we talk about Abraham and his firstborn son, Ishmael, who actually got circumcised with him. And so it wasn't Isaac that was circumcised. But we'll go more into the Isaac, the Ishmael, the father of the Arabs, and everything else as the light just fell down next week and then further weeks. Thank you very much for attending Dads of the Bible, and see you next time. Make sure to like, subscribe, and share it with your friends, especially if they're a dad.